999. You can text us at that same number on the HHM text line. This traffic report is brought to you by the Cleveland Family YMCA. The YMCA's after-school program is a safe place for children to play, learn, and grow when out of school. Find out more at ymcachattanooga.org. We'll check your Mermaid Mattress Weather Center forecast coming up.
And right now we go to the phones. We're joined by State Representative Dan Howell. And good morning, Chairman Howell. How are you?
I am doing well, Steve. It's a beautiful morning in Nashville. The sun is out, and it's warm. Don't even need a top coat. It's a great day to be alive.
It certainly is. Well, what? Just want to, cut right to it. What did you make of the governor's State of the State last night?
Well, he laid out a budget proposal that is in many ways unprecedented for Tennessee. We first of all heard that his proposal would add another $350 million to the rainy day fund, which in the history of the state, I don't believe we've ever had a $2 billion rainy day fund, which is about what that would bring that investment to. And he also wanted to proposes that we invest more money in education, of course, which we have to continue to do. And one thing I was particularly pleased with was a $1 billion investment proposal in the TCAT so that we can continue to develop skills jobs for our students, much like what we're doing now at the Vice Center in Bradley County. And that proposal included building 6 new TCAT facilities. Tennessee, I forgot what TCAT stands for, Steve. I just went blank.
Well,
that happens when you get old.
We're all blank. Hey, we're joined by State Representative Dan Howell. You must have been pleased, as you are the chairman of the Transportation Committee. $3 billion for road improvements across the state.
I was excited. I don't know if excited is the right word. I was ecstatic, maybe, because I have been dealing with complaints across the state of Tennessee as House Transportation Chair. I hear complaints about congestion. This bill addresses that. I hear complaints about underfunding. This bill addresses that. I hear complaints about why does it take so long to build a project, the average build time for a major project like let's take the 2475 split in Chattanooga. The average time for a project that size historically has taken about 15 years, and that's from inception and planning and environmental and all of that. And this proposal would allow the state and TDOT to drop that build time to about 5 years. So cutting it by 2/3, which is really exciting to me. And the $3.3 billion is an unprecedented investment in transportation. And what excited me also, because as a representative, I represent largely a rural district, Polk, Meigs, and much of rural Bradley County. $300 million of that proposal would go to what's called the State Aid Fund, and that fund supports local road departments and street departments in our local governments. So that is, again, an unprecedented amount of money going into the State Aid Fund, and it will be controlled through TDOT, and they apply through grants given to the local governments to help maintain and build their infrastructure. So it was a great day, a great night. Of course, as they say, Steve, the devil's in the details, so that proposal will be sent over to the Finance Committee in both houses. They will go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But judging from the reaction last night on the House floor as we were in joint session, I think much of what we heard last night actually will take place, and especially with regard to our infrastructure. So it was a good day, a good night last night.
We're joined by State Representative Dan Howell. I want to hit one more thing here, especially for our local audience and people in this area, obviously concerned about education. As you mentioned, the governor, in his budget proposal, $1.1 billion for the new education funding formula, also stated he hopes to increase starting teacher pay in the state to around $50,000 on average, yes, and include $125 million for teacher raises.
Yes, what we heard last night on the floor, and those numbers were rounded up, I'm sure, but $350 million total to put into the new TISA funding program that we passed last year. You know, that the TISA program took the place of the old BEP funding formula. And about half of that would go for teacher races. And being the husband of a retired teacher, I have great empathy for our teachers. And I was excited to hear that as well as the road funding. It was just, I think, a really good night and a great speech by the governor. And I might add, the First Lady was not with the governor last night. She's struggling with her health, as many Tennesseans know, and the governor did mention that she could not be there because of her health. So I would just ask your listeners to keep Maria Lee in your thoughts and prayers, because she's got some rough days ahead as she goes through some additional chemo and I believe some marrow transplants, and I'm not sure what all the problems are medically, but I know that they do appreciate Tennesseans praying for our First Lady.
A lot of people here are, Dan, and I can't thank you for the update. Hey, what's to come? So from a time frame standpoint, especially people back here at home, of course, our local legislative delegation with you and Kevin Raper, Adam Lowe, what's on the front burner coming up here?
Well, for transportation, of course, I've been tasked, and it's an honor for me to shepherd the governor's transportation proposal through the House, and it will be up in the subcommittee. I will be carrying it to the subcommittee on Tuesday and Wednesday afternoon, 1:30, the subcommittee meets. And so far, you know, the one thing you learn to do up here real quick is count votes. So far, it looks like we have a comfortable margin to pass the governor's infrastructure proposal through the subcommittee, and from there it will go to the full transportation committee, which I chair. And I'm excited about it. I think we have a potentially generational change in the way that we fund, build, maintain our infrastructure, and it's something that will, I think, change the way that we approach our infrastructure for generations to come. And that's because the gas tax is not sustainable any longer because of the increased mileage from the vehicles that are being manufactured now, the growth of electric vehicles on our roads. So we have to find a new approach and a new way to maintain our infrastructure, because it's critical. There are two things that are critical to the economic growth. One is infrastructure, the other is education, and the governor is investing heavily in both of those. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
State Representative Dan Howell. Representative Howell, we really appreciate your time this morning. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Steve. Always good to talk to you.
Same here. We'll talk soon. State Representative Dan Howell, following the governor's state of the state last night, 8:25.
This is Thomas Williams with Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. Stop by today.
Being around people is my joy in my